Good noon, all of you. How are you all? Hello, Naveen, Ashish. Right, so we gathered here today for discussing how to ace your vocabulary. Now, I'll discuss a lot of things today, like why vocabulary. Why do I need to, let's say, learn various vocabulary words? It's not asked in CAT. So if I'm preparing only for CAT, do I need to learn vocabulary? Then the vocabulary that CAT may ask might be different from the other exams. So how do I prepare for that? Right. So all of these things, some techniques, some tips, that is what we are going to discuss today. Okay, so I welcome you again to this session. I am Nikita and we are going to talk about vocabulary in detail today. Okay, so fasten your seatbelts. Right. Good noon. Let's begin. Okay, so the usual question that I get from students is vocabulary in CAT. They say, in the last 5-6 years I haven't seen vocabulary questions in CAT. So why should I prepare for vocabulary if, let's say, CAT is my main focus and the other exams aren't? Yes, can anybody answer this? That if CAT does not ask vocabulary, and let's say I am a student who's focused on CAT, why do I need to prepare for it, or do I even need to prepare for it? Yes, tell me. Ashish, what do you say? Good afternoon, SG. Okay, so RC passages. Good afternoon, Vishal. Very good afternoon. Right. Vocabulary helps in comprehension. Very good. Okay. So, for further rounds, very good, Dheeraj. So, yes, first of all, vocabulary will help us increase our comprehension. And this comprehension is crucial, right? For an exam like CAT, where you have so many RC passages. Even in non-CAT exams, sometimes you get 4 to 5 RC passages. So, vocabulary is not just important for attempting vocabulary questions, it's very important for your RC passages. Okay, be they RC passages of any exam. Secondly, very well put that for your further rounds, for your WATs, okay, when you write your essays, if you have a good vocabulary, it enhances the quality of your essay, right? I'm not saying that it's a sine qua non, it's an absolute essential. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it shows that, okay, you are somebody who has read, who has worked on his or her vocabulary. Then for your peers also, yes, it makes you come across as better communicators. Again, I'm not saying that it is essential, it just enhances the quality of our communication. Knowing the exact word for a particular situation, right? That always helps. So, yes, vocabulary in CAT is important because you want to comprehend your passages. You want to understand your passages as quickly and as smoothly as you can. Even for an exam, let's say like MAHCT, for an exam like CMAT, you do get RC passages there as well. So understanding those is important there. And that's why, you should know contextual and genre-based vocabulary. Contextual vocabulary. Context is the word surrounding a particular word. The other word surrounding a particular word. So basically, if let's say that vocabulary word is a part of the sentence, then the sentence is the context. So you need to be aware of contextual and genre-based vocabulary, right? What do I mean by genre-based vocabulary? Right. So there are some queries here. Should we join the class? Yes, Krishna, you are already in the class. Okay. Good noon, Prem. Right. So here, genre-based vocabulary. See, every field has its own jargon. So here's a word for you that many of us know the meaning of jargon, the technical terms associated with a particular field. So every field has its own jargon. For instance, in science and tech, there would be some jargon, let's say, related to cells. Okay, so in the cell, we have the nucleus, we have the cytoplasm. Yes, so this becomes the technical term of the field. Right. Similarly, if I talk about business and economics, we have terms like debit, credit, right? Principle of prudence, let's say. Economics, we have the GDP, GNP. So every genre will come with its own vocabulary. And if you want to succeed in RC passages, it's very important that you are aware of this genre based vocabulary, right? You must be thinking, how does it make a difference? Just one or two words will be of this type. If I don't understand it, then also I'll be able to navigate it. Trust me, sometimes it doesn't work like that. Because if, let's say, you get a passage that is, let's say, a hardcore economics passage, yes, and this has happened in the past in your CAT exam particularly, it will end up using certain terms. Let's say, again, as I said, for the macroeconomics, let's say GDP, GNP. Then let's say in from microeconomics, it uses terms like law of diminishing returns. I'm just giving examples. It's not necessary that you'll get such a technical passage. But in case you are aware of at least the basic terms of the field, in case, let's say, in the business world, you know what is an ROI, you know what is an ROCE, return on capital employed, right? Then it helps. Okay. Now, coming to, yes, you could say that these are esoteric words. Good, Ashish. So we have another word today, esoteric. Words, basically, esoteric means anything that is understood only by a few people, right? That is esoteric. Something that's not very simple. So these genres that I've listed, this is again based on an analysis of your past year CAT papers, right? In the past years, these are the passages, these are the genres that have dominated. I'm not saying that other genres haven't appeared, but these have dominated. Okay, particularly in the recent papers, you'll see a lot of cross-genre passages with some element of social science always being there, right? So again, that's a clue for you that you should be very well versed with articles of this type, with the vocabulary of these fields, right? Psychology, sociology, even philosophy, history. Okay, let's take a few examples. Okay, so again, these are certain terms that belong to, as I said, genre-based vocabulary. Internet of Things. I think from just reading this word, we can gauge that this is a term related to technology. Can you tell me what is Internet of Things? IoT, as it is fashionably called. Yes. Hi, Ashwini. Tell me, what is Internet of Things? So, sometimes when I lose my TV remote and I'm not really in a mood to find it, I've downloaded my TV's app on my mobile phone also. So I operate my TV using my mobile phone. I'm sure a lot of you do this, right? Similarly, this can be done even with your AC remote control. So when multiple devices, when various devices, they communicate with each other, that is known as Internet of Things. Right. Now, how did I come across this term? Connecting different devices via a network. Absolutely correct, Pradeep. So, again, I came across this through the newspapers. Okay, so when this term was really gathering steam, I happened to read an article on it, and from there, it really interested me. So, I found a bit more about it on my own. So, that is how I came to know about this word, Internet of Things, belonging to technology. Okay, break even point. You must be thinking that these are not really vocabulary words. See, vocabulary. We'll also go into detail as to what is the meaning of vocabulary. Okay, I have it in a subsequent slide. This is all vocabulary only. Break even point. Their business has broken even now. Their business has reached their break even point. What does that mean? Yes, tell me. Vishal, not exactly. IoT is about various devices communicating with each other through a network. Okay. So break even, when a business reaches the no profit, no loss stage. Absolutely. No profit, no loss. That is called breaking even. We say this, no, finally we are even. Barabar aa gaye hum. So break even. All right. Similarly, now see, coming to relatively more technical terms. So these terms you might have heard, you might have read in your articles. Now, for these terms, again, you need to have, first of all, some level of interest, let's say. Or if you, let's say, till now didn't have interest, then in your RC passages, you might come across such terms. If you pick up your previous year papers of various exams, right, particularly in CAT, you have had RC passages that have talked about communism, Nazism, fascism, right? So This is something that belongs to history as well as politics. Fascism, Nazism. Anybody who can tell me the meanings of these? What were these? Fascism. What was fascism? Yes. From where can we make our vocabulary strong? Sources. Okay, I'll suggest those, Tushar. Don't worry. Coming in a slide. Okay. So, I think you must have heard of Benito Mussolini. Yes? At least some people must vaguely know his name, even if, let's say, they don't know who he was. Mussolini is a term that you may have come across at some point or the other, right? So he was an Italian ruler, right? And he believed in oppression of people. He did not believe in liberty and human rights. Okay, he ruled with an iron fist, as we say, right? And under his regime in Italy, so I'm talking about this period between First and Second World War, uh, you would see extreme regimentation. For instance, today's North Korea state, you can have only certain types of haircuts, right? So there was extreme regimentation. The army and the police had arbitrary powers. Certain people were labeled as foreigners or non-citizens, okay, based on their race, their caste, their ethnicity, and they were oppressed. Okay, so this was Mussolini's regime, and this is this his brand of politics. He called his rule fascism. Okay, now this also reminds people of Hitler. Yes, when I'm talking about Mussolini, it and those terms that I use, extreme regimentation, oppression of minorities, or let's say non people being labeled as foreigners, non-citizens, sounds very similar to Nazism. Yes, so actually Hitler borrowed a lot of things from Mussolini. People, because Hitler, he's even more unpopular, I should say, than Mussolini. People think that Mussolini was inspired by Hitler, but it's actually the other way around. Okay, so Hitler borrowed a lot of things. For instance, the salute, the Hail Hitler salute, that has been borrowed from the fascist salute, right? So, okay, so I'm getting some comments here. Yes, it was a political movement, a political form of governance, correct? Not exactly a movement, but yes, a form of governance. That is what we can say, right? Now, similarly, Nazism, Hitler actually did all of these things in Germany. Okay, the location differed, the level of atrocities differed, right? And some policies differed. For instance, Hitler took this discrimination of race, this racial discrimination on a scientific level, right? He performed scientific experiments on, let's say, people of the non-Aryan race, right? He believed in eugenics. That means people with certain undesirable traits, they should not, let's say, reproduce. That's what he believed. Eugenics, a new vocabulary word for you. EU, and this has gen. This comes from gen. Genes also comes from the root gen. EU. Okay. Euphoria. Right. Euthanasia. EU means good. Eulogy. All of these have EU. And gen. Gen means birth. So good birth or good genes. That's the idea. So eugenics is the science of crossbreeding various organisms so as to have desirable traits of both in the offspring. That's eugenics. So he believed in eugenics, that people with desirable traits only should mate. So let's say people with certain disabilities should not mate. So my point is that there is, and I can go on and on and on about fascism and Nazism. This is just the tip of the iceberg that I've told you, right? So how do you develop such vocabulary when you actually delve into such topics, such genres? That's the, I think that's the most pertinent way of going about it, right? So, and I'm not saying that you have to just read. No, just reading is never the solution, right? Of course, it's a very big solution. But see, for instance, my knowledge of fascism and Nazism was honed further when I watched this documentary called The Dictator's Rule Book, right? I think it's available on Netflix. So my point is that you have to just dive into these genres in whichever way you want to. Immerse yourselves in them. Okay, look at this term now. Okay, now there are certain comments here. Uh, Stalin, okay. So now, okay, Ashish, if I use this term in a very broad sense, then yes. Now these terms, fascist and Nazi, these are used in a relatively broad sense these days, and they are used for anybody when anybody acts in a dictatorial manner. We say, okay, this is a fascist move. So yes, in their broad sense, we can use these for other leaders also. In the narrow sense, these particularly belong to Mussolini and Hitler. Right. Now, even in the Indian newspapers, you will see these terms. Whenever the government does something that's oppressive in nature, you would see the journalist writing that this is a fascist move. Journalists don't generally don't do that in editorial pieces. It's experts writing this, that this is in the nature of a fascist move that goes against democracy. Right? Can Putin be called fascist? In a broad sense, yes. In a broad sense, absolutely. Okay. Right. Now, let's talk about impressionism. Okay, so now I'll not explain the meaning to you. I will show something to you. Look at this painting here. Okay, so what do you see here? What are the things that stand out in this painting? Yes, the style. Yes, it's a style of painting. Correct, Vishal. But what particularly, let's say differentiates this style? Yes, Ashish. So I thought instead of having a very traditional vocabulary session where I just talk about etymology, let's make it much, much more relevant for you because, see, if you are preparing for CAT, you will get RC passages, right? Even if you're preparing for non-CAT exam, you will get RC passages. So it's important that we learn how to prepare for that kind of vocabulary, right? Okay. So I see in this painting, I see this movement of light, right? So the sunlight is falling on water, and it's the slight movement there. That's what I see. So the focus has been on light, on movement. Then I see that okay, it's like the painter put really small brush strokes, and then it just sort of combined to form a painting, right? So those were my first impressions of this painting. So, Impressionism was a 19th century Western and usually Parisian, because in Paris a lot of art developed, right? A 19th century Parisian movement, right? Which made use of these small brushstrokes, which focused on the movement of light, which focused on the movement, basically on how a scene appears to me, the kind of impression that a scene leaves on me. So I am not replicating something. It's not that I saw something and then, like a photograph, I just reproduced it. That's not the focus. The focus rather is on how it made me think at that time, in the sense, the kind of impression that it left on me. That is what is the focus. And I've tried to keep in the painting, the painter has tried to keep the colors true to the original. So for instance, this must have appeared as a shadow, so it's black. The sun usually appears orangish, so that has happened, right? But the focus is on the impression that the scene of sunrise left on the painter. This is impressionism. Okay, it was an anti-academic movement. Okay, what do I mean by that? So in 19th century, there were these government art exhibitions called salons. Okay, so in these salons, they started somehow prescribing very strict rules that your art should meet these criteria. Only then will allow you to display your work. So certain painters were very irritated by it. One of them being Claude Monet, who is the painter of this painting. So they just started their own exhibitions. Okay, and this painting is the name of this painting is Impression of the Sunrise. Impression Sunrise. So from this painting actually comes this term of this movement, this art movement called Impressionism. Okay, so that's what Impressionism is about. That's how art progressed. Yes, and so yes, Pradeep, that's our interpretation. Okay. So what you are doing right now, no, this is called expressionism. I want you to explore what expressionism is. Okay. Basically, the kind of feelings. Okay, these feelings could be related to anything that a piece evokes in you. Right. For instance, when I look at a tree, it can make me sad. Let's say. So that is my feeling on seeing that tree. And when I try to produce that feeling on canvas, that is called expressionism. Okay, so find out more about it. Again, if I have to go on about these, I can go on and on. The idea is that you should know about these terms at least briefly. Okay, and all these terms that I've picked up, I have seen them at some point or the other in your RC passages. That's why I picked them up. Okay, now another trend that has emerged, see, the nature of our world itself has become very interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, right? So similarly, you have started getting cross-genre passages that are a mix. Let's say they don't belong to one particular genre, they are, let's say, a mix of economics and politics, science, social science and business, history and technology, history and philosophy. You've started getting such cross genre passages. Now how do I develop इसका vocabulary? ये कैसे vocabulary develop करेंगे cross genre? The solution is, you tell me what the solution would be. Let's see some examples and I think the solution would come to you automatically. So these are terms that I have again picked up from your previous year RC passages. Okay, previous year RC passages. Now, and these came pretty recently, all these three. Okay, they are from your previous year CAT RC passages and they came pretty recently. Look at this term, behavioral geography. Geography, all of us understand. We have read it, we have studied it also, right? Some of us pretty reluctantly. But what is behavioral geography? Yes. Uh, yes, Ashish, to me also it gave the impression of a sunset, but I think the painting's name was Sunrise, if I'm not wrong. Behavioral geography, yes. So, anything that has the word behavior in it, it's related to psychology. So, behavioral geography is a field that is a combination of psychology and geography. Now, you must be thinking, इनको कैसे combine करेंगे? So, there was a passage that came in your CAT exam, which is about topophilia, which was about topophilia. Okay, and see, whatever I'm telling you today, I have some more general tips also for you. And RC passages are something that are very common to all your exams. So don't think that just because I'm citing from CAT, this is not relevant for people who are preparing for non-CAT exams. That's not the case, right? So, topophilia. Now, the moment I read this in the exam, it was a new word for me also, right? Fortunately, your RC passage explained this. So that's why people navigated through that RC passage. But let's say in some other year, they don't even explain what topophilia is. Topography. So I gauged that from topography, it has to do something with terrain, something with land. Philia. Philia is love. Love for a particular piece of land. Our feelings for every piece of land are not the same, right? See, there are certain cities that are so dear to you. Let's say your hometown. It must be so dear to you. It has so many memories attached for you, right? So you would love that particular piece of land. That is topophilia. So our behavior can be influenced by our geography. Now, topophilia is just one of the aspects to it. Let's say someone lives in very unhygienic surroundings. Then sometimes such people don't tend to care much for their surroundings because let's say they are living in such unhygienic surroundings, so the lack of hygiene doesn't worry them as much. Not stereotyping, I'm just giving an example. On the other hand, if let's say your surroundings are beautiful, you would be motivated to keep them beautiful. Okay, to not disturb that beauty. So this is behavioral geography, right? And again, reading this passage, it made me very curious about this field, behavioral geography, and I found a little more about it. Hence, I'm giving you these examples: hygiene, lack of hygiene, the love for your motherland, right? The love for your hometown, okay? Or let's say preferring certain geographies over the other, or your behavior. For instance, if you've grown up in a coastal area, your behavior, your vocabulary would differ according to that, right? All of this is behavioral geography. Imagine people are studying this field, people are doing research in this field, right? Similarly, these two terms. Okay, so I'm leaving this to you because if I explain all the terms to you, then when you practice your previous year papers, they'll all be known to you. Anybody who anyway vaguely knows the meaning of these terms, white man's burden and enlightenment rationalism. Yes. So for Ashish, it's Mumbai. Okay. Human behavior as per different places. Correct, SG. So white man's burden. It comes from a poem by Rudyard Kipling. So, this oppression, I am tempted to explain this. So I'll explain this one. This is your homework. Okay. Right. Uh, Racism doesn't just have to do with, let's say, black and white, right? The Western people, the European people of the time, okay, when, let's say, when colonialism emerged, they genuinely believed that they were the superior race, their culture was the best culture, and it was their duty to civilize the other cultures, which they sort of considered as to be backward, tribal, heathen, as the Christians use this word. So that is why they felt that it was their burden to civilize us lesser mortals. Okay, and that is called the white man's burden. They thought that it is the white man's burden to actually civilize the so called non civilized races. Okay, and imagine the kind of things that people have in their heads and how they justify oppression, right? This is white man's burden. Again, came in an RC passage in your previous years. Enlightenment rationalism is your homework. Okay, so what's the solution ultimately? I've been throwing a lot of terms at you, right? Now, yes, the Jungle Book, Rudyard Kipling. Yes, Ashish. What is the solution? The first and foremost, of course, you know it in your hearts, is that you have to read. Okay, and because see these terms that I've picked up, they are from your previous year RC passages. So why not read from the sources that have formed the sources of your RC passages also in the past? So this is a sort of a list that I have made for you, right? Because students prefer Indian newspapers, that's why I've put this at the top. Otherwise, if I talk particularly about CAT, right, then the foreign newspapers have found more appeal to CAT authorities. You will find a lot of RC passages from the NYT and the Guardian. You will find passages from eon.co, which is an e-magazine. You'll find passages from The Economist, which is both an offline and an online thing. Smithsonianmag.com, you will find science and history related articles from here and passages also in your previous years. And these I think you're aware of: HBR, Harvard Business Review. Lately, excerpts from non-fiction books have also come, right? So the solution is to read articles from these sources. Now you must be thinking ये तो हमें पता है but नहीं हो पाता, ठीक है, एक दो दिन हम करते हैं but नहीं हो पाता. So see, consistency is the key for anything that you do. So let me break it into chunks for you. I've done it earlier also, but let me just reinforce it so that I know that from today you will start doing it. I'm not overwhelming you. Just pick up 1 to 2 articles from any of these sources. Okay, so pick up, let's say, one article from the Hindu today or the Indian Express today. Let's start from there. Okay, and let's say pick up one article from the NYT editorial. आज NYT के website पर जाओ. Okay, one free article you'll get from the and go for the opinion page, right? The editorial page. Read those 2 articles. Trust me, there are going to be terms there that you would not know the meaning of. Okay, at least 1 to 2 words you will find. Or another thing that you can do is you can pick up a good non-fiction book, right? Depending on your interest. Whatever interests you, pick a non-fiction book in that arena. Now read it for 15 to 20 minutes. See 2 articles if they are of a good length, let's say, then they will take you around 15 minutes. If you are trying to comprehend, the focus is on comprehension and not on speed. Right now, the focus should be on comprehension when we are trying to implement this. When you do that, you will find that there are certain terms that you do not understand. So what you have to do then? Note them down. Okay. And Google their meanings. Okay. Search more about them. For instance, when I read about IoT, I didn't just settle for what the article offered me. I Googled a bit more. Impressionism, same thing. I do not belong to, let's say, the arts background. Again, I Googled, right? So you are very lucky to have been born in this era where Google exists, right? So make use of this. Implement this every day and trust me, you will see that your genre-based vocabulary is deepening. For instance, if somebody belongs to a non-commerce background and wants to develop a business vocabulary, read the business page. Let's say 1 to 2 articles from the business page every day. You'll come across so many new terms, okay, that you didn't know earlier, right? Some of you, now I've got some comments. The concept of white man's burden is Yes, it is ironic. Definitely, that's the irony there. That's why I was being sarcastic also. Uh, okay, SG. Let's not use that kind of language in the class. Okay. Now Eon essays are quite lengthy. Do we need to read it at all? So Suyash, a good question. Yes, Eon essays can be 1,000 words, can be 1,500 words at times, right? In case, let's say, so what you can do is, let's say, read just one article of Eon in the whole day. That will suffice. Or if, let's say, you feel that I can't read so much at such a stretch, then you can break it into, let's say, two parts. That's what can be done. Why I recommend reading it is because it has formed a source of your RC passages in the previous years. And trust me, this happened with me in 1 year, and recently in the last 5 6 years. The passage that we got in CAT was from Eon, and I had already read it as an article. It was about genes and basically the multiple types of genes that influence us, something of this regard, something of this sort. So Eon does not just have social science based articles. You find science also there. You find philosophy there. You find labor as a topic there, right? So yes, I would recommend reading it. Okay. So my point here is that do this every day, and trust me, you will see a difference in your genre based vocabulary, right? And it's not just reading. Let me come to my next solution. It's not just reading. For instance, I told you I watched The Dictator's Rulebook, and that informed me a lot about fascism and Nazism. I watched Shark Tank, okay, I haven't completed it. So it informs me a lot about some business related terms or how to make deals, etc. Okay, so your genre based knowledge can come from these documentaries, it can come from things that you watch. Your general vocabulary. Trust me, I have learned some words from, let's say, the comedy series that I have watched. Okay, from the rom coms that I have watched. So, listening is a very important element of immersing yourself in a particular language, right? And it is going to be of great help. So I would recommend that at least, I think, I'm sure that most of you are already doing it. You can watch some shows, if not news. Ideally, as a teacher, I should recommend news, right? Watch English news every day from, let's say, the BBC or some other standard source, right? But in case that doesn't interest you, start watching some series. Okay. So I have learned vocabulary words from Friends. I have learned vocabulary words from GOT. I have learned words from this House of Cards that I used to see. So any series. Okay, these are just some that I have seen. Right now, right. So for your WATs, you know what? I have seen this, that students start preparing for WATs once CAT is over. Before that, nobody even thinks of such topics. But what is ultimately your essay based on? I'll see the topics, they can be based on current affairs. So, reading the newspapers right from today will help you, right? Then, working on your vocabulary, because if, let's say, you make use of some good genre based vocabulary there, that will help you. Then even if it's from a general area, it's not very topical, then in case you've read some non-fiction books or some articles on that particular field, in that particular field, that will help you. So uh, whatever you are reading right now, whatever vocabulary you are building right now, you can pick up an issue. Let's say the Russia Ukraine crisis. What are your 2 cents on it? What is your opinion on it? Write that down. Write that down in, let's say, just 250 words. If you don't want to write a lot, just 250 words. Your opinion on it. And when you write it, you will automatically see. I know that you must be thinking that I may be exaggerating here, but trust me, when I sit to write, there are times when words strike me, the words that I didn't even know I had in my repertoire, okay, but I may have read in some novel some days back. They strike me that, okay, this is going to be the appropriate word in this situation, and then I use it. Or sometimes I deliberately Google what is going to be the appropriate word in this situation, and I find a new word. So, writing again helps you a lot, and you can actually kill two birds with one stone by writing and preparing for your WATs right from now. Okay, we have a lot of videos already on our YouTube channel on the WATs, how to start writing for them. You can refer them in case you are serious about this advice of mine. Okay, and definitely speaking. If you want to improve your vocabulary, you have to implement the words that you learn in your everyday speaking. But till the time you don't do that, it won't be of much use. Okay, what use are words if you don't use them? Yes. So speak. Be prepared to speak incorrectly. Don't shy away from, let's say, speaking incorrect English. It's fine. Initially, it's absolutely fine. It's only through usage, through frequent usage, that you will improve, yeah, on your language. And English is not my mother tongue, at least I don't know about you. So I learned this way only. I spoke wrong English. I look at my Facebook statuses that I put, let's say, 10 years back, and sometimes I'm so embarrassed because of what the kind of English that I wrote. So I have improved by following all these things, and I'm sure you will too. ठीक है? I hope that is your writing ability tests. A lot of IIMs and other MBA institutes, they have this as their stage 2. So because of COVID, a lot of them did not take WATs. Otherwise, they were a staple feature. So you have CAT scores, your WAT scores plus your PI scores added up, and then you get an offer from an institute, right? Okay. Thinking, yes, thinking also helps. So, Prem, I'll tell you that I am also working on it, and I have reached a stage where I think partly in English, but I still don't think completely in English because it doesn't happen to be my mother tongue, right? So, yes, it is said that a lot of foreign educated people, for instance, let's say it's said that Jawaharlal Nehru, he used to think in English, right? He was so. What do I say? So, so foreign bred. I don't want to use that term, but yes, his ideas were also in English. That's what is said about him. I'm not sure about it. So yes, thinking in English can also help you. So before speaking, sometimes you can frame your arguments in English and then put them in English. Okay. In my WhatsApp conversations, I do this all the time. Okay. Sometimes the right word does not strike me, or sometimes the right phrase does not strike me. So I think for a while and then type. Right. So I think it's a great tool. If you're not writing your WATs, at least write well in your WhatsApp conversation. Okay. All right. So these are the types of questions. I wanted to list the various vocabulary questions that can be asked from you in non-CAT exams. This is relevant for all of you who are preparing for MA CET right now. Okay. All these types of questions can be asked from you. Right? And let's now see an example question. I want you to tell me the answer for this. Look is such a simple word, yes? So I'm expecting everybody will get this correct. This is a previous year question. Let me see what you say. Yes. Let's see. Okay, you have to give me that sentence which uses the word incorrectly. Yes, I should have stated that. You have to give me that sentence which uses the word look here, or makes use of this word here incorrectly. Okay, that is what you have to do. Sorry, I should have stated that. Okay. So SG says C is incorrect. Ashish says A is incorrect. Others? So Sai is saying A, B and C are incorrect. So Nali says A. Others? A. All right. So I've got 5 responses. Yes. What are the others doing? Aishwarya, what do you say? Prem? All right then. Let's discuss. A is correct. Okay, a common answer that I get is A for this question, because people usually think that to look on is to just keep watching without really doing anything, right? In fact, we have a word called onlookers. Onlookers, that has come from this phrasal verb to keep looking on. Yes, the passengers just looked on as the conductor misbehaved with a fellow passenger, right? So they just looked on, they didn't do anything about it. That's one meaning of look on. Another meaning is to regard someone or something in a specified way. To regard someone or something in a specified way. So we looked on her as our daughter means we regarded her as our daughter. Right? We regarded her as a daughter. So this is absolutely fine. No errors here. Right? Look out for that. We say there's no watch out for this, look out for this for the new batsman. That means keep an eye, as in be alert towards this person. That's the idea, right? So notice, to notice, that's the meaning. The debutant hoped the critics would look kindly on her first film, right? So this is the same as the first usage, to look on, to regard someone or something in a specified way. So she wanted them to look kindly on her work, to regard her work kindly. The answer is D here. Anybody who said D? Let me see. Okay, Prem said D. Very good, Prem. D is the answer. I wanted to look at people in the eye and tell them that I made a mistake. Look at people in the eye or look people in the eye. Which is correct? It is, the idiom is to look people in the eye. That means look at them directly without any embarrassment, without any fear, without any shame. The way you should look people in the eye while speaking in English without worrying about whether you are speaking the correct English or incorrect English. Okay. Most of us don't speak correct English anyway. Okay. So D is the answer here. D is incorrect. Others are fine. Others are correct. So this is a previous year question, and I wanted to highlight through this that sometimes the very commonly used words can be used in such a way that let's say we aren't aware of this minor thing. Okay, we might think this is fine. So that's why it's important to read, to listen, because there you will see such common words being used in a specified way, and then you will grasp that, right? Again, I never learned the meaning of look people in the eye specifically, but I just know from, again, the books that I've read, the shows that I've watched, that usually we say this, to look people in the eye. She looked him in the eye. Okay. And not she looked at him in the eye. Right? So I hope you found things fruitful so far. I really hope they work for you, just like they worked for me. Right? And if you have found value in the session so far, please go and press the like button and we'll proceed. Okay, so this was specifically about how to develop genre-based vocabulary. Now, let's talk a bit about what are some general techniques that can be followed. What are some general techniques that can be followed? So you were asking for sources. I have told you about newspapers, magazines, non-fiction books, right? You already know that fiction books can also be helpful in building vocabulary. Now comes this one. So this technique, I have given it an acronym GRASP, right? So that you can grasp it easily. Grouping, root, association, suffix, prefix. If I talk particularly about root, then you know the book Word Power Made Easy. It actually teaches you words through this technique. And it's a very helpful technique. Let me show you how. Okay, let me show you how. Sorry. Okay, where is root? Just a second. It was supposed to be here. Okay, sorry for this. Anyway, let me tell you. Have you ever wondered what is the root for the word vocabulary? Yes. You were asking this. Have you ever wondered what is the root for this word vocabulary? Anybody who will tell me? Thank you, Ashwarya. That means a lot, and it shows me that, okay, I'm fulfilling a part of my purpose. EU, Cressy, right? These are roots. Correct, correct, correct. But what is the root for vocabulary? Okay, VOC, vocere. Correct. And what does it mean? What does this vocere mean? Tell me. What does this vocere mean? Anybody? Vocal. It is related to vocal. Correct. So here's that slide. I hid it by mistake. Right. So the origin of the word vocabulary is this root vocere, a Latin root which means to call. See, some of you rightly gauge that the word vocal also has this root vocere. When I'm vocal about something, I speak out about it openly, right? Vocal. Then what other words have this root? VOC. Yes, VOC. Just vocabulary and vocal. How about convocation? How about evoke? How about revoke? Invoke? Just the just that the C switches to K, the C becomes K, but otherwise the root is the same, right? Evoke some memories. The picture evoked so many memories. That means it called to my mind. It made me recall so many memories. He revoked the contract. In a way, he called back the contract. He called the contract back. Okay, no, we no longer have this contract. Withdrew the contract. That is revoke. Invoke, again, evoke and invoke, they have one similar meaning. So one sense of invoke is this only, to bring to mind, and the other is to call in, as in we invoke the god whenever we have havans, pujas. Okay, whenever we have any such religious ceremony at our home, what are we trying to do? We are invoking god. Okay, we are calling them in our homes in a way. So that is another meaning of invoke. So my point is that, see, just because I know the root for this vocere, I am able to recall, okay, all of these other words that have this vocere in them. Convocation, call together. Basically, you are calling out all the members of the passing out batch together. Convocation, right? Viva voce, the viva that you give. The viva that you give in school. It's called, a lot of students read it as voce, but it is voce. Basically, viv means living. Voce means voice. Voce means voice. In the living voice. So instead of your teacher reading your answers, he or she gets to hear it from you in your own voice, in your own living voice. So the root word technique is one of the most effective techniques that I have personally come across for learning words, and I strongly recommend it to you. Okay. So look at this question that came in IFT this year itself, I believe, or in some previous year, right? But this is the question that came. You had to give the meaning of this root word somn as used in somniloquy. Yes. Who will tell me the meaning? Yes, calling in favors, Ashish. Correct, correct. Insomnia is another word from somn. Correct. Provoke also comes from vocabulary, from this vocere. Very good. Okay, so tell me the meaning of somn. I think Ashish has given us a hint. Come on, quickly. What has happened? Okay, absolutely correct. Somniloquy, sleep talking. Some people talk in their sleep, right? Loquer means to speak, to talk. So sleep talking is somniloquy. Somniferous. Okay, so if you tell me, ma'am, gradually this lecture is becoming somniferous. बस बहुत हो गया. Somniferous, inducing sleep, right? That is somniferous. You can use it for some drugs, some medicines, even for lectures, right? So somniferous. Then insomnia is something that you have mentioned. Hypersomnia, when people have this thing that they sleep excessively, excessive sleep, hypersomnia, right? So many words that have somn in them. I hope this is clear. And yes, you can use the root word technique to your advantage. Then association is one technique. Okay, so grouping was the first one. Okay, so here tell me, again it's a previous year question. What is the antonym for armistice? Armistice. Good, all of you were correct. Tell me the meaning of armistice. Antonym, sorry, not the meaning. Alcohol is somniferous. Correct, Ayush. We're reaching the last leg of our lecture today, right? I want you to be very enthusiastic. Now is the time for questions. Yes, antonym. So if you see here, let's say you don't know the exact meaning of armistice, but peace, truce, you've heard these words, peace and truce. Truce again means that when, let's say, two warring nations, they establish some sort of a peace arrangement between themselves. That is truce. So you know that they are similar and probably therefore they are not the answers. So what you've done is you've done grouping. So grouping is a technique that can make you remember words and it can also make you eliminate words. For instance, when I look at some word, look at the meaning of a word, I also look at its synonyms. Okay, and then I learn them together. So I have basically grouped some words and asked my mind, अच्छा ये similar है, इनको एक साथ store कर लो, right? So this is grouping, again a technique for learning vocabulary words. Synonym antonyms could be one way of grouping them. Genre-based vocabulary could be another way of grouping words, right? Truce, peace, they mean the same, so they can't be the answers. Then what else? B, okay. I've got C's also, 4 C's, 2 B's, 1 D. Okay. C is the answer. Very good. Okay. So 4 C's, those students who said C, skirmish. Truce and peace, they are similar, so eliminated. What is concord? Concord again means establishing peace. Okay. Cordial relationships, the word cord. Con means together. So skirmish. Skirmish is a very minor disagreement or fight. That is a skirmish. So truce, concord, peace, they are synonyms of armistice. Okay. Ceasefire is also a synonym. Skirmish is an antonym. This is my applying grouping right in front of you to a previous year question. And one of my favorites, I use this association for words that I find particularly hard to remember. I use it for those words. Association. Okay. So let's have a look. Stolid. What does this word mean? Yes. Stolid. We've talked about two techniques so far, grouping and root. Concord. They signed a concord, a peace concord. Yes, a peace. I could say a peace. Accord also is fine there, and peace concord. Yes, it's an agreement that people will maintain harmony between them. Yes, yes, yes. Correct. It can be It is an agreement, in fact, that ensures harmony between two groups. Okay. Ashish says D. Others. Fastest fingers first has already been won. Yes. The second fastest finger. Okay. SD says B. Unpredictable. You know, I have somehow I have always associated stolid with cows. I don't know why. Okay. Probably when I tell you the meaning, you will be able to get why. The answer is unexcitable. But let's look at the meaning in detail. So I've taken this from vocabulary.com. Whenever I want to understand a word in its usage based detail, कि इसको use कैसे करते हैं, then I go to vocabulary.com. I find it very useful that way because it sort of explains the word in a lot of detail. So a stolid person can't be moved to smile or show much sign of life in much the same way as something stolid like a giant boulder is immovable. Both are expressionless. So somehow I find cows to be very expressionless. You know, they'll just keep eating their fodder, and I somehow find them to be very expressionless. Okay, that's why I associate it with cows. You can associate it with some person in your life. Okay, I am sure you must have seen such person who are very calm, indifferent, but also unexcitable, unemotional, right? Such people are stolid. So association, I find it useful when I want to remember words for a long time, and I want to particularly remember how to use a word. So I would associate it with people whom I don't really like, not with people I like, right? And that will tell me, acha, it's a relatively negative word. Relatively negative word. So that's how association helps, right? So, some other words for it: empty, blank, vacant. You can actually associate it with these words. Some complementary synonyms are calm and dependable also. Such people tend to be calm. But then the word essentially is slightly negative in meaning. Okay? So, stolid is unexcitable. Ingenuous was a new word here. Ingenuous is somebody who's very innocent. Innocent. See, it has gen in it. Gen, birth. जैसे कल ही पैदा हुए हो. Right? So innocent and naive like children. That is the meaning of ingenuous. Okay. So this is association, grouping, root, association, and lastly suffix and prefix. Again, you can use the, for instance, one of you said EU. What is EU? It's a prefix only, right? Euphoria, euthanasia, eulogy, all of these have EU as a prefix, and the moment I add EU to it, the word has something to do with good. The word has something to do with good or well, right? So this is the magic of suffixes and prefixes. Look at this word, look at this prefix quin here. Quintet, quintessence. What is the meaning of quin? Yes, they just keep on chewing with no expression. So I associate it with cows. Yes. Magoosh, yes. So another source, of course, after WordPar made easy, I usually suggest to you this app called Vocabulary Builder by Magoosh. I find it very interesting. I won't tell you the details. You can just download and find out for yourselves. So it has a list of words, a bank of words. Not exactly a list. It gives you a quiz. So I am sure that it will have some words that we have discussed today. Whether it has all the words there, I am not really sure. ठीक है, बाकी हाँ बहुत सारे words, because it has words for people who are preparing for SAT, for GRE, okay, basic, advanced. So all of them are useful for you. Don't think कि हम तो GRE नहीं कर रहे हैं. All of them will prove useful for you. All of them are high frequency words. अभी मुझे मीनिंग चाहिए क्विन का. Okay, DAC, 5. Yes, very good. C is the meaning here. Quintet. A quartet is a group of 4 musicians. A trio is a group of 3 musicians. Tri, quad, quin. Quin means 5. A quintet is a group of 5 musicians. Right? Quintessence. So actually, quintessence is the essence of something, the very core essence of something. That is quintessence. So how does it have the word 5 then? How does it have the prefix 5 to it? Basically, it was felt that there are 4 elements, right? Water, air, earth and fire. Right? So quintessence was believed to be the 5th element. That is the core of everything on this planet or in this universe. That is quintessence. From there comes this word. Right? If a person, God forbid, so in human beings it does not happen, but in puppies, yes, a bitch can give birth to quintuplets. Like we have triplets, we have quadruplets, triplets 3 children, quadruplets 4, quintuplets 5. Okay, quinquagenarian, 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 quinquagenarian. Somebody who is 50 to 59 years old. That person is a quinquagenarian in their 50s. So I hope the meaning is clear to you. See, quin is a prefix that means 5, 5th, okay, and because of this, the words that have quin in them, they usually have something to do with 5, right? So prefixes can also help us. Prefixes, suffixes, ultimately it's a part of the root word technique only, right? I just created an acronym grasp, but ultimately suffix prefix भी root का ही part है. ठीक है? Yes, quintessence is the perfect example of something, epitome of something. That is also a meaning. Quintuplet, children. We would say quintuplets. Okay. All right. So this was about grasp. Now, the last thing, can previous year papers help us? You know what the answer to this question is. Definitely, they will help you. Practice your previous year questions. Okay, for non-CAT exams, previous year vocabulary questions definitely. For CAT, look at your previous year RC passages. For instance, all these words that I've picked up here, they come from your previous year RC CAT passages. Visual culture, topophilia, which I explained to you. Who was Sigmund Freud? Find out. You got a passage on him. Who was Derrida? What is epistemology? Is it something related to philosophy? Find out. What is ethnography? All these words, they have appeared in your CAT previous year RC passages. So when you attempt those RC passages, after attempting the questions, take a moment to find out the meanings of all the words that you didn't understand earlier, right? And all of this, I'm very sure, should help you in building your vocabulary. Okay, reading, listening, speaking, writing, and the grasp technique. Ultimately, remember, consistency is the key to anything that you do in life. So if you're not consistent about it, if you just read for 1 or 2 days, then you can't really come to me and say that nahi ho pa rahi vocabulary, right? Uh, just a second, for MHCT, Aishwarya, SAT words will also do and GRE words will also do. So you can pick up SAT and complete that first, and then you can go to your GRE words. Okay. So I hope this session helped you. If it did, then please do press the like button. Do comment in the comment section. Anything else that you would like to be covered, you can also comment that there. Right? Do subscribe to our channel. Very, very important. Press the bell icon to get notifications. And this is our CAT 2022 course that we are offering right now. It is a comprehensive course which is not just for CAT but all your other exams as well. A lot of material, a lot of expert guidance, live sessions, recorded sessions is being offered, right? And yes, if you want to stay connected with us, you can always join our Telegram channel. It's a doubts channel where you can raise your doubts. Your peers can clarify them, or we are also present there, we can clarify them, right? Thank you so much for attending. Thank you, Ashish. I also love taking vocabulary sessions. I'm glad you like them. Okay, you like this one particularly. Welcome, welcome. CET specific questions. Tomorrow I have two CET specific sessions at 12 p.m. and at 7 p.m. again we'll meet tomorrow where I'll discuss popular previous year MHCET questions. So a must attend session, right? So tomorrow is completely dedicated to CET. All right. GMAT exams English is for native speakers. No, but GMAT tends to follow US English, American English. Okay. But it's not that it's for native speakers only. The level is, of course, definitely higher, relatively higher when compared with CAT also. The level is relatively higher. Thoda sa, zyada nahi. Not, no, I don't say that, Ayush. No, I enjoy GMAT RC passages more. I'm not a native speaker. I am an Indian. Okay. Welcome, welcome. Next class tomorrow at 12 p.m. and at 7 p.m. Both dedicated wholly solely to MASCT. Okay. Hope that clarifies. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.